I can't get a CPF number because I'm not a Brazilian citizen. This has literally been the biggest nightmare. Well, today we're back at where the castle is, which is behind me, probably 12 miles or so. The guys switch on and off between going to this field and flying where the green lawn is, which is kind of nice because it gives, you know, a different view every time. So this drive actually is kind of long. It takes us about an hour and a half to get out here, whereas the other one is probably 20 minutes away. But even though the field isn't quite as good, I like this flight better because there's a lot more to see. Although the other one is pretty beautiful as well. The fires are still burning here in Brazil, and unfortunately, it's a lot. Like half of Brazil is on fire. And unfortunately, a lot of that's the Amazon. A lot of the fires out here have been put out, which is good, so it makes for a nice clean day. This will actually be the first day that we fly without smelling smoke, so it'll be good. By the way, today's flight, we're gonna go to a singer's house named Gustavo Lima. I don't know who that is, but supposedly he has a big farm out here with an airport, and so that's where we're heading today. It's about an hour and a half flight, so gotta fill up on gas, but I'm good with it. Just a lot of running. So you're probably wondering why the motorcycle breaks down so much, and actually so am I, but I know why, and let me try to give you the best, clearest, succinct example that I can. In Colombia, it was difficult for me to find that motorcycle. I specifically wanted the Honda XR650L, and that's what I've got, because it's extremely lightweight and the power to weight ratio is enormous. And I'm carrying a paramotor, so I'm going to have a lot of weight on it. Unfortunately, it's not made to carry weight, so I had to beef up the back end, the undercarriage of the motorcycle quite a bit. So the guy I bought it from had already put 63,000 kilometers on it, and it's a 2008. It's a pretty old bike, but I couldn't find another one in Colombia, and it took me 8 months to find that one. So I was happy that I got that one. At any rate, he must have run out of oil at some point because I did my tour of Colombia, got back to Cali, and in Cali is where we needed to bore out the engine because the cylinder wall was scraped. So we replaced the piston, we replaced the ring, and everything was good. I even added an oil cooler on it because when you bore an engine out, it's going to make it run hotter, and that's an air-cooled engine. Well, all was good, and we added oh, and by the way, we increase the fuel to air mixture because adding fuel will cool down an engine as well. Okay, all was good until I hit Brazil, and in Brazil all was good until I hit Paraguay. And in Paraguay, remember, I was bleeding through gasoline like there was no tomorrow, and so we thinned out the air fuel mixture. And by doing that, it made the engine run hot. And I ran hot all the way through Paraguay into Brazil, and it was still okay. But then the Brazilian gasoline, first time I filled it up with all that ethanol in it, 35% ethanol in the gas here, well, that made it run hot again, and it was already running thin. So oil doesn't work very well on a hot engine. And so basically it just ruined all 4 camshaft lifters as well as the camshaft. So that's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on 4 lifters and the camshaft. Hopefully they will come in soon. They're supposed to be only like 5 or 6 days away. I can't get them in Brazil. I had to order them from the States, so just got to wait for them to be shipped here. But that's the skinny on the motorcycle. Oh, and of course the gear selector lever, well, that's just stripped spline, so there's nothing I can do about that. Hopefully that's been fixed now that I've fixed it like 4 or 5 times. Oh, okay, I see the airport. Here's the runway. Wow, that's like for jets. That's a huge runway. Dang, this singer must be making bank. I can't remember his name. Something like Gustavo Lima or something. Gustavo Lima? I don't know. I've never heard of him. Of course, I don't listen to Portuguese music either, so unless I'm in a taxi and then you're forced to, and basically it's just deal with it. That's a big runway. That is a giant runway. Wow. Holy crap, look at his house. Wow. I should have became a singer, except, yeah, I could never become a singer because my voice sucks. Alright, well, here's some famous Brazil guy's house. Oh, there's macaws down here, too. Oh, sweet. Gosh, they're beautiful. Wow, the fire even touched this far. Look. You see burnt fields all over the place. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but they're all over. You see how this field is cleaned out, but you can see the burn underneath? Obviously the fire came here and the tractors just had to totally scrape the ground. Something else, rival farmers actually set fire to other farmers' lands. Pretty nasty, pretty stupid. A friend of mine's house, the guy who brought me back from Paramotor or wherever that was, the championship place, his parents' farm was burned down because a rival farm lit fire to their fields, which I guess is common.
Well, I have returned to the motorcycle shop and let me tell you what's going on. And it's a bit problematic. So I've actually been in Goiânia now for 2 months. And I know it only seems like a few weeks for you guys, but it's been 2 months for me. The problem is that I need a new camshaft and 4 new lifters. I can't get those parts in Brazil, so I had to order them from the United States. That took a while because the parts manufacturer or the parts dealership had to order them from Japan. So I had to wait for them to be shipped to the US and then shipped to Brazil. The problem is they didn't put an invoice on the package. So as soon as it got to Miami, UPS turned around, sent it back to the parts center. The parts center then put the invoice on the package. It made it through customs in Miami and finally it made it into Brazil. That took over a month. It's sitting in Brazil and UPS won't release it until I pay the taxes on the customs, which is fine. The problem is UPS cannot let me pay the taxes unless I have something called a CPF number, which is a Brazilian identification number, kind of like the Social Security number. So Paulo has a friend who can deal with this bureaucracy for me because the CPF number has to match my name because the parts are sent to me. I can't get a CPF number because I'm not a Brazilian citizen. This has literally been the biggest nightmare. So I went and I saw the paramotor championships. I've tried to do as much as I can in Guyana. I've been able to fly a lot, which is good because Paulo and the boys take me out at least twice a weekend, sometimes during the week, and we get some flights in. But outside of that, I've been sitting in a hotel. And at this point, the adventure is stuck and I have got to get back on the road. So I'm gonna spend some time here in the motorcycle shop. He has a friend that's gonna help me with the bureaucracy today. I'm hoping we can get the taxes released today. I can go ahead and pay them. And then maybe they'll be shipped to Guyana because right now they're in Campinas, which is a city by Sao Paulo. A freaking nightmare, an absolute freaking nightmare. In the meantime, let me show you a bit of eye candy on the motorcycles that Paulo is presently working on. Not a big Harley fan, but I sat on this guy. It's actually pretty comfortable. We have Triumph Explorer over here. There's a few pieces and parts over here. He's working on a Hayabusa now. And actually there's several Gixxers in here. And here's a CBR 1000 RR. That's a quick bike. Let me show you this one here, which is a BMW 1250. And the reason I want to show you this is how interestingly they do their camshaft. So the lobes on the valve lifters, this mechanism here will actually change and lower, and it'll actually shift over and use lower lobes so the valves don't raise so high at 6,000 RPM. So it uses these upper lobes here to raise the valves until 6,000 RPM, switches over to these lower lobes. Actually, it's very cool. Paulo says they really don't have any problems with it. I think it's probably more to go wrong, but it actually increases horsepower and reduces the band, so it's a smoother throttle. But the Achilles heel of this bike is the rear wheel. BMW makes a great motorcycle, but the problem is they're a little too over-engineered, and sometimes you actually need a phone app in order to change things. The rear wheel, however, has been known to explode if you don't take care of these spokes correctly. A few of them get loose and the whole wheel will explode. The problem is actually the same on the Explorer. The Triumph Explorer actually has the same problem with the rear wheel. BMW does make a mag wheel like this one, but for some reason people don't like them. I would actually prefer that wheel on a big bike like this rather than risking an explosion of a wheel on the road. For those of you guys who are bike heads, you might want to look at these toys here, all in different functional states. And of course, here's the Thumper, the great balance machine, which has been sitting here now for 2 months waiting on parts. Here's a 1000 Gixxer that actually has been probably sitting here longer than my bike has, so I don't know what's wrong with it. Obviously it has Yoshi pipes on it. I'm not a big fan of Yoshi pipes on this one. Vance & Hines used to make some really good pipes for this, but I don't know if Vance & Hines makes them anymore. Here's an old R1 that's been sitting around. Obviously not going anywhere because there's no engine in it. It looks like it's been sitting here a while. Honda Shadow. I think this is going to be an 1100. Let's see if it has a shaft drive. Yep. So I had the 750 model of this, which is chain drive. So I think the 1100 is shaft. This is a great bike. Obviously it's in disrepair, but this bike will go anywhere and it will put in a gazillion miles for you. If you know what it is, tell me in the comments. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll give you a hint. It's a Suzuki. These two might be a little trickier. If you guys remember when Honda used to put in, and they actually might still do it, when they put in the upside down forks and the small front wheels, right? On this one it's a Hornet, so obviously it's the CVF. And this one on the right, the red one, was the CB model. So both very similar, a CB and a CBF. Many years ago, I owned a bike exactly like this. It's a GSXR 750. Mine was a little bit different model, so I think this one is probably newer than mine. Mine had the dual headlights in the front, so this one looks pretty old though.
While in Goiânia, I would go on mini flights, twice a week at least, but because I'm a foreigner, I had a limited amount of time I was allowed to be in the country. There are a couple of ways to extend your passport stamp while visiting a country. One, of course, is to leave the country and then return for a new stamp, and the other is to visit a consulate. I chose the latter because the consulate was only a few hours away in the capital, which is Brasilia. Now, I had gone to Brasilia just a few weeks ago, and I tried to take care of something that is really necessary for this adventure. But unfortunately, that idea was appearing to be unsuccessful. So I would return to Brasilia and try again, and hopefully things would go much better this time. Either way, I needed an extension on my passport for Brazil, so I hopped on a bus and took the 3-hour ride north.
Well, this is the immigration building right behind me. I'm here in Brasilia. So now I either got to walk to the airport, which is here, or catch a bus back to Goiânia. But I'm good for Brazil for another 90 days. Well, the airport was charging $1,000 for a 30-minute flight to Goiânia. So I decided to take a bus. So 3 hours on a bus for $20 versus $1,000 in a half hour. I'll take the bus.
I meet a lot of friends on my adventure, and a lot of life happens around me which, unfortunately, you, the viewer, never get to see. Lessons are learned and ideas are exchanged, smiles are shared, and so much more. This city has taught me the value of patience. Stuck in a place where I feel helpless to continue, but I'm surrounded by people I can now call family. They share their meals and their lives with me each day, and for that I'm extremely grateful. For now, I'll wait, and while I wait, I'll fly, enjoy my friends, and be thankful. And maybe one day, my motorcycle will actually get the parts it needs.